Hello, dear students. Welcome on this e-learning platform of Apex Institute of Physics. And in this video, we will be talking about dielectrics. We will carry forward with the dielectric discussion that we started in the previous video. And let's start what the effect of dielectric insertion is on different parameters. So on different parameters, insertion of dielectrics will have a certain effects we are going to talk about. I'm categorizing it into two categories or cases. Case number one, in this case we are considering that the dielectric slab is being inserted when the battery is not connected. So that means this is the parallel plate capacitor and the K constant or K dielectric constant has been inserted. So what happens to the following parameters? So here in this column there are parameters and their values before the insertion, their values after the insertion. So first parameter is capacitance. We know whenever the capacitance whenever there is an insertion of dielectric in a capacitor, capacitance multiplied by K. So from C it will convert into or will get converted into Kc. So whenever the dielectric is filled inside the capacitor, its capacitance gets multiplied by K. We have talked about this in the previous video and we have seen how this K comes in. Then another quantity is that we are talking about is the charge on the capacitor. Now how the charge is going to be decided? It's going to be decided by the source and sink of charge. Now if this has a charge Q initially, let's say this is a positive, this is negative, so you'll find the charge will not go anywhere because it is not connected with the battery, so charge cannot move. So you'll find the charge will remain whatever it was. So when the capacitor is not connected with the battery, then you'll find the total charge on the capacitor remains conserved. So Q will remain Q. So there is no change in the charge, an important parameter. Now next says energy stored in the capacitor. Now we have talked about the two parameters, one about capacitance, another about charge, and we know the energy stored is given by Q square upon 2C. So from using this formula we can find out what the effect on stored energy is going to be if dielectric is inserted. Now by using this formula we can say there is no change in Q, but capacitance is increased by K factor. So that means stored energy will have a K factor in denominator. So stored energy will become U by K. U by K. So that means stored energy will get decreased and that decreased will be by K factor. You must be remembering this K, which is a dielectric constant, it is greater than or equal to 1. That means if we insert any dielectric, this K is going to be greater than 1. So hence the stored energy will decrease. So there can be a conceptual question or a theoretical question that what happens to the stored energy of the capacitor when a dielectric is filled inside. Then you need to watch which case we are talking about. Then it will be mentioned that the battery is not connected. If the battery is not connected, you'll find energy decreases and decreases by that factor. Now you might also think that to get the energy stored we can use this half CV square. Now, when you are using half CV square, then you might think of that C gets increased by K factor. But you need to make sure to claim answer from this formula what happens to the potential. Now you will see the potential also changes, C also changes, then both changes together will change U. Hence better is to use this formula because here one quantity is constant, that is Q is a constant. So to answer the energy stored, we need to simply see how the capacitance is changing. So it's always preferable to use those quantities which remains fixed during the operation or during the process. So this is going to be preferable. You use the second, that's also going to give you the right answer, but in that case you need to check about potential. Now let's talk about another this parameter, which is electric field inside. We have talked about the electric field inside is changed because of the polarization, and you'll find this is E by K. So electric field becomes E by K. Now we can also mention one more quantity called potential. So if the initial potential was V, is going to be V by K. So potential also decreases by K factor, and this is because potential is written as E into D. E is decreasing, D remains same, so V is also decreasing. So these parameters we need to keep in mind how they are changing when the battery is not connected and dielectric is being filled. Now our answer becomes different if we say say that the battery is connected. So if battery is connected, then our answers will differ, and we need to see how the differences are coming. So let's see this under the category of case 2. We are going to take the similar parameters again. So what happens to the capacitor? We have talked about the capacitor gets multiplied by K, and this does not the change in the capacitor or capacitance does not depend whether the battery is connected or not, because we know this is arrangement, and arrangement depends on the medium and the parameters, that's like size, shape, and other things, right? No, the charge on the capacitance or capacitor plates. So initially it had a Q charge and it was connected with the battery, and you filled the dielectric K. So what is going to happen now? The battery is available, battery can supply charges, right? So that means now the charge will not remain conserved, but yes, what will remain the constant is the potential difference, because the potential difference is going to be equal to V. So we can use the formula Q is equal to C into V. Now V remains constant in case battery is connected. C gets multiplied by K factor, then Q must get multiplied by Q factor. That means if initially charge was CV, then it will become KCV. That means the charge will become K times initial charge. So when the battery is connected, then you'll find the charge on the capacitor increases, and it increases by K factor. Okay, since the charge is increasing, and then we can also talk about the stored energy of the capacitor. Now stored energy of the capacitor, you can use the formula U is equal to half CV square, because V is a constant. Then you'll find the stored energy is also going to increase, and this stored energy is going to be K times initial energy. So stored energy is also increasing by K factor, Now what happens to the potential difference across the battery? We know the potential difference remains constant because it is connected with the battery. So these are very important points to keep in mind. Whenever you are going to talk about any parameter, you need to see whether the battery is connected or not connected. However, in case of capacitance, it doesn't matter whether the battery is connected or not, but yes, in other parameter it does matter. Two most important points that need to kept in mind are: when this is not connected with the battery, charge remains constant. When it is connected with the battery, potential remains constant, and this formula is always true. And C is changing by a factor for sure. And in one case Q is going to remain constant, in another case V is going to remain constant. Then we can find out other parameters like energy stored, field, and all other things. Then furthermore, you might be asked about what the additional charge that has been flown through this battery when the dielectric is being filled. So additional charge that has to come from the battery is going to be the final charge minus initial charge. What is the final charge? You can see the final charge is KQ. What was the initial charge? That was Q, and Q is CV. You can place Q as a CV, so it will become K minus 1 into CV. So that's additional charge that is coming through the battery after insertion if battery remains connected. And then another popular question is work done by the battery. How much the work done by the battery is going to be we have talked about work done by the battery is the charge flown. Let's say if we say this is small q charge that has flown, so we will say the work done by the battery is going to be the charge flown into the potential. So we just multiply this number by potential to get the work done by the battery. Then next point can be asked is heat produced. When you are inserting a dielectric, how much the heat is being produced? So we say the work done by the battery, so this is the work done by the battery minus change in stored energy. So this is the formula that we have already talked about to find the heat. So whenever we are finding the heat, we need to find out the work done by the battery and the change in stored energy. Difference of the two is going to be the amount of heat produced. Right. So in this slide that we have learned what happens when the dielectric is inserted in a capacitor in two cases, when the battery is not connected and when the battery is connected. Both the results are very important. So you just go through, make your note and try to understand. If you have any doubt, you can always ask. Now let us consider that there is a parallel plate capacitor of plate area A, and the gap between the plates are this gap is D, and there is a dielectric that has been filled across the same area but having a thickness T which is less than D. So thickness of this dielectric slab is less than the gap between the plates. Then we need to find out how the electric fields are going to be there, what the capacitance will be, and all that stuff. And let's say this dielectric has a dielectric constant K. Now we know this is the positive. If this is a positive charge, so there's going to be negative charge is going to be polarized on this surface. That's because of the polarization. Positive charge you will find on this surface, and these charges will be polarized charge, or sigma bound. We can also say sigma bound as well, or sigma polarized P, and that's going to be minus sigma P. Here I am using sigma, which is charge per unit area. Area is same. Now since these are the charges, so we can find the field in this one junction, two junction, and third junction. So in this one junction, the field is going to be given by this expression. So E is going to be sigma upon epsilon naught, that means sigma, that is charge on the plates, and it will be from this positive plate towards negative plate. In this space, which is also uncovered by the dielectrics, the field direction will be from the positive sigma plate to the negative sigma plate, and it's going to have the same value sigma upon epsilon naught. Now in these two regions there will be no effect of this polarized charge distribution, because the field of these two plates will be getting cancelled out. However, in between these or in the part of this dielectric slab, field will be given upon original field, that was sigma upon epsilon naught divided by K. Right, if you remember the field inside a dielectric, there was a formula we started with E naught, the original, divided by K. So using this we can find the field within the dielectric. So once we are able to find the field in all the space between the parallel plate capacitor, now we can find out what the potential difference is going to be. So let's say we are interested in finding the potential difference. We can also think of let's say this thickness is T1, this thickness is T2. So can we say the potential difference is going to be field into corresponding thickness? That means E, let's call as E1, let's call as E2, and let's call it as E which is inside. So we can write it as E1 T1 plus E2 T2 plus E into T. T is the thickness, T1, T2 are these thicknesses, right? Now we know this E1 and E2, they are same number, they are going to sigma upon epsilon naught. T1, this will become sigma upon epsilon naught. T2, and E value is going to be sigma upon K epsilon naught into T. Now if we carry forward with this, we will find sigma upon epsilon naught can be taken as a common. From here we will find T1 plus T2, and from the last term we are going to find as T by K. If we go one step more, then we can write sigma. Sigma is a charge density, right? So if the plate has a charge Q, so we can say sigma is going to be equal to Q, which is a charge on the capacitor, divided by A. So let's replace the sigma by Q by A. So this is going to be Q upon A epsilon naught. Within the bracket we are going to get this T1 plus T2. Now we can also find this T1 plus T2. Can we say T1 plus T2 plus T must be equal to the total gap D. So what the T1 plus T2 is coming? Can we say this is going to be D minus T? So since we know this information from the figure, we can find out T1 plus T2 is going to be D minus T. So it becomes D minus T. Then we have T by K. Right? Now from here we can rewrite it as a Q is equal to, in bracket is going to be A epsilon naught divided by D. If we take this T as a common, then we are going to get as a 1 minus 1 by K. So this is going to be arrangement stuff, and then this is going to be multiplied by V. Now we can compare it with Q is equal to CV to identify C. That means this is going to be indicating as a capacitance in this particular case. So C is going to be written as A epsilon naught divided by D minus T in bracket 1 up minus 1 by K. So this is kind of a formula we can remember in case of partially filling it. Moreover, this final answer is not dependent upon T1 and T2. That means it is independent of the location where this dielectric slab has been placed. As long as it is inside, it can be shifted upside or downside a little bit, and it will not make any difference in the capacitance. So capacitance depends only on the thickness of the dielectric that we are filling and the dielectric constant. Now in this, if we place K equal to 1, that means we are talking about air, then we will find the original formula, that is A epsilon naught by D. So K equal to 1 will lead to A epsilon naught by D, because this term will become 0. That means this dielectric will behave like vacuum or air. If we place K as an infinite, then we are going to get it as a D minus T. That means if it is said that this is made of a metal instead of dielectric, then formula will become A epsilon naught D minus T. That means K we need to place at infinity in case of metal has been placed inside the capacitors. And if any dielectric is there, then we can use this formula A epsilon naught upon D minus T in bracket 1 minus 1 upon K. What else has to be kept in mind? That the dielectric slab has the same area as the plate. So they have the same area, but the thicknesses are different. So this becomes an important point from the examination point of view. Okay. So here is a question for you to try. So you need to prove that the capacitance of given arrangement is this. We need to prove that if this is a parallel plate capacitor and K1 dielectric has been filled up to T1 thickness, and this K2 dielectric has been filled up to T2 thickness, plate area is A and D is the total gap, then we need to prove that the capacitance of this arrangement is going to be C is equal to A epsilon naught divided by D minus T1 in bracket 1 minus 1 by K1 minus T2 bracket 1 minus 1 by K2. I hope you can prove just following the concept that you just learned. What you need to write, you need to write the potential of this entire arrangement, then you need to find something over here, and then it has to be related to this Q, and then you rearrange it and then find the value of C by comparing Q is equal to CV. So you just try and prove it. If you are able to prove it, write in the comment section that you have done, and if you are not able to, then I'm going to prove it for you. Well, related to this learning, let me tell you one more important point, and which is also going to be a question. So the question will be like this: there is a parallel plate capacitor, and let's say this is a positive plate and this is a negative plate. Charge is Q, and it has a capacitance. Initially it has a capacitance C. Then a thin metallic strip, so this is thin metallic strip or metal strip, metal plate or strip you can call it. So if a thin metal plate is placed between the two parallel plates of a parallel plate capacitor having capacitance C, so after insertion of this metallic plate, what happens to the capacitance? You will be giving four options, like capacitance increases, capacitance decreases, capacitance remains same, and either of the above. So this type of options can be there. So can you answer what should be the correct option? Yes, you can answer. How you can answer? You can answer using the formula that you have learned. So we can say whenever some material is filled inside and which is partially filling, then the new capacitance, let's call it to be new capacitance C dash, this is given by A epsilon naught divided by D minus T in bracket 1 minus 1 by K. So we will be using this expression. Now K is going to be infinite because of being material as a metal. For metal it's infinite. So for metal you can say, or I'm writing if it is K is tending to infinite, that means we are talking about the metal plates. Then C dash is going to be equal to A epsilon naught divided by D minus T. We have talked about earlier. So this is the formula for metal plate insertion, and you could also have started from this point as well. However, in this particular question, it has said that a thin plate has been inserted. When we say thin, that means the thickness is ignorable. That means T is very small as compared to D. That means it will become A epsilon naught divided by D, which is going to be the original capacitance C. Hence we can conclude that if we place any thin metallic plate parallel to the parallel plate capacitors, then there is no change in the capacitance. So answer will become option C. It will remain the same. However, if it is not thin, it's a thick, then the formula will be C dash is equal to A epsilon naught divided by D minus T. That means the thickness of the plate will matter. Okay, so for thin, it remains the same. So it has come in the examination in form of theory or theoretical, that what happens if a thin metallic plate is placed parallel to a placed parallel capacitor. You say no change occurs for the capacitance, meaning capacitance remains same. I hope you have got the point. Now we can move ahead. Well, another type of dielectrics filling might be of this way, in which the dielectrics are not having the same area as that of the plate. So let's say this is an example, and in this example this original capacitance is, let's say, C naught, and which was A epsilon naught divided by D, where A is the plate area and epsilon naught is for vacuum and D is the gap. Then you have filled these dielectric constants or dielectric materials K1 and K2 in such a way that K1 is occupying A1 area of the plate, K2 is occupying A2 area of the plate. Now we need to find equivalent capacitance. So what the equivalent capacitance is going to be, that we are looking for. So we can say if a dielectric is filled completely in a capacitor, then its capacitance becomes K times initial capacitance. However, here we are using different dielectric constants. So we need to divide or convert this single capacitor into two capacitors, having one having completely K1 and another having completely K2. So for that sake, what we can do, we can say this is basically uh, made up of, or it is a combination of two capacitors. So we can separate this part of the capacitor and this part of the capacitor, and we can connect them by a wire, right? So if we do this, then across this AB point you will find one capacitance will be because of K1 dielectrics, there is a dielectric field, and another capacitance will be because of K2 dielectric, this is going to be completely filled. For this C1, let's call this is C1, this is C2. For this C1, the area of the plate is going to be A1. For this C2, area of the plate is going to be A2. And as far as the thickness or the gap between the plates is concerned, that's going to be equal in both the cases. So this is how we can separate them, and then we will find they are connected in parallel. How they are connected in parallel, that's also an important point. Now when we are dividing this in single capacitor into two parts across this line AB, or from where the boundary of K1 and K2 is, so you'll find this the potential of this part and the potential of this part is going to be same. That means they are going to make the same potential surfaces. Why? Because this is the single plate or single conductor, and for a single conductor they have a same potential. So this is going to be same potential. Similarly, these 2 points will have a same potential. Hence we can say the capacitors will be having the upper plate at the same potential and lower plates at the same potential. That means they will be in parallel combination. Once we have identified this parallel combination, then we can easily find out what the C equivalent is going to be. So we can say C equivalent will be equal to C1 plus C2, because we know in parallel combination we simply write C1 plus C2. Now the point is to write what the C1 is going to be, what the C2 is going to be written as. So we will say C1 will be written as A1 epsilon naught divided by D. This would have been the value of C1 without dielectrics, but there is a dielectric, so we are going to multiply it with K1. Similarly, C2 can be written as A2 K2 epsilon naught divided by D. So these are the C1 and C2s. Hence we can find out what the C equivalent is going to be. C equivalent is going to be C1 plus C2. So we will add them up. Once you are going to add them up, then you'll find it's going to be epsilon naught divided by D. In a bracket you'll find A1 K1 plus A2 K2. A1 A2 will be known to us, K1 K2 will be known to us. Hence we can find out what the C equivalent is. But if we are interested in finding out the C equivalent in terms of C naught, so from here, from this expression we can borrow the epsilon naught D value, which is going to be C naught by A. So from here we can rewrite it as C equivalent is going to be C naught, which was initial capacitance, divided by A, and in bracket it's going to be A1 K1 plus A2 K2. Moreover, we can say whatever the A we are using, that is the total plate area, which was divided into A1 and A2. That means A1 plus A2 is indicating basically A. So finally we can represent C equivalent in terms of desired quantities. So it will become C naught in the bracket, it's going to be A1 K1 plus A2 K2 divided by A1 plus A2. Now you will be giving A1 K1 A2 K2 and C naught. We can finally find out what our answer is going to be. So point is, whenever the distribution of dielectrics inside the plates is in this fashion, that means they are having the different areas but same gap or thickness, then you will find they will going to be connected in parallel, and we will independently find C1 and C2, then we will sum them up to find the final answer. In the previous case you have talked about, that was the case in which the dielectrics has had the same amount of area but different thickness, and in this question we dealt with same thickness but different amount of area. So both type of cases we have talked about. So these two cases will act as a basis. Now there can be n number of dielectrics filled, and we will be just dividing them into various capacitors and their combinations, and then we will try to find out the final equivalent capacitance. So let me give you one more question based on this dielectric filling. So here is another question. Very similar type of question has come into examination some year back, and it says there is a parallel plate capacitor. Let's say the capacitance is C naught, initial capacitance, which is A epsilon naught divided by D. D is the original gap, and the space between the parallel plate capacitor has been filled by various dielectrics. One is K1, another is K2, another is K3. K1 has the same gap between the plates as the capacitor, whereas gap is D1 and D2 for K2 and K3 respectively, and areas are different as shown here. These K2 and K3 have the same area A2, K1 has the area A1. So some important information that we can use later on is the D is going to be basically D1 plus D2, and total area A is going to be equal to A1 plus A2. So these are the information we can use from the figure, and then we will be trying to redraw this capacitor into the combination of capacitors, so that each capacitor is completely filled by the dielectrics, that is one dielectric. Okay, so we can say this A1 and A2, they have to be separated. So we can say there is going to be one capacitor connected like this, which is of A1 area, and this is of K1 basically, K1 A1, and distance or gap as D. So let's call it as C1. Then A2 area will be having these two capacitors which are going to be in themselves in series. So we will be saying that there is going to be one capacitor, then there will be another capacitor, and that will be finally connected with this. We can call it as a C2, we can call it as a C3. And the points A and B, which we are interested to find the equivalent capacitance. So across these points A, B, A is there, B is there. Now if we are able to redraw this in this format, then we can find out C1 and C2 and C3, they are combined like this. Now C2, C3, they are going to be in series combination. So first we are going to simplify this C1 and C2, and then this C2 and C3, then this C1 will be parallel, so we can find the equivalent capacitance. If I write C equivalent can be written as C1 plus equivalence of C2 and C3. In case of series, we know it will be C2 C3 divided by C2 plus C3. So this is going to be the formula that we need to apply. What is left to write is finding the C1, C2 and C3. So we can find the C1, C2 and C3 values. So where C1 is going to be equal to, can we write C1? C1 has a dielectrics K1, so we will apply the formula area, which is A1, dielectric, which is K1, epsilon naught divided by D, D is D. So that's a C1. Then we put the C2 or find the C2 value. C2 is going to be area of the plate, which is A2, dielectric constant K2, then the epsilon naught divided by gap, gap is D1. Similarly, we can write the C3 expression. C3 is going to be area, which is A2, epsilon naught into the dielectrics, dielectric constant is K3 divided by gap, gap is D2. So this is how we can write C1, C2 and C3. Now these values we can substitute in this expression, and finally we will get our answer coming back. So we'll get our answer out of it once we are able to redraw this capacitor circuit into the combination of capacitors, so that each and every capacitor has particular type of dielectrics if there is a dielectrics. Okay. Now since we are going to face objective examination, that MCQ type of questions, So if the four options are given to us, so instead of solving, we can also go for some quick calculations and some elimination method, and that method is going to help us. Now what method we can use, but that will be applicable, or that will be useful if the options are given in terms of k1, k2, k3, right? If k1, k2, k3 are given in the numerical values, then we need to solve, we have no other option. So if k1, k2, k3 terms have been used, so what we are going to do, we will be taking their value, assuming, let's say, like first assumption would be like, let's say k1 becomes equal to k2 becomes equal to k3. So that means this entire dielectric will become single dielectric. And let's say consider it to be 1. If we consider it to be 1, then our answer should come as the same answer which was initially. So if those options which are satisfying this condition, they will be candidate for answer, and those options which are not able to satisfy this condition, that they will not be the part of the answer. So those options can be eliminated. Moreover, then we can further go ahead and think of like if k1 equal to k2 equal to k3 equal to k, so what the C equivalent will become in this particular case? It should become k into C naught, right? So and then you can further put the values which is obvious ones, and if you do this kind of checking, then you will find some options will get scrapped, and if you're lucky enough, you will get 3 options scrapping out. So if 3 options are scrapping out, then the 4th option, which is going to satisfy these conditions, will be the correct option. And most of the time it has been found that we can use this elimination method to reach our answer correctly. And if the numerical values are given to us, or these obvious substitutions, or these values are not able to decide the right option, then this is the method that we have talked about. It will take 1 or 2 minutes, but we can find our answer correctly. Okay, so this is an important question. As I told you that a similar type of question has come in the examination, so mind it and make your notes, understand it properly. Here is one more question, and which says there is a parallel plate capacitor, and the space between them has been filled with k1, k2, but this time they have been filled in a fashion so that the dividing line is this line, which is shown by a thin line. We need to find the capacitance of this capacitor. So it says C naught is original capacitance, which is A epsilon naught by D, and we need to find new capacitance. Find equivalent capacitance or new capacitance after insertion of dielectrics. New capacitance. Now we will assume this area A is made up of 2 things. So this area A is basically L into B, where L is indicating this length. So this length of the plate that we can see is L. So L number is large enough. And D is the gap between these 2 plates. So D is this distance. And B is going to be another dimension. Since this plate is 2 dimensions, so one dimension which is running perpendicular to this white board is the dimension B. Making sense? Now, if we separate these two in such a way that one is filled with K1 and another is filled K2, then it will be very difficult for us to find the capacitance, because then the plates will not remain the parallel plates, because this dividing line is neither the parallel to the plates, neither the perpendicular, not the perpendicular to the plates. So what we are going to do, we are going to use the finite element method to find out the capacitance of this part. So how we can use this finite element method, you can see over here. So let's say this is our one endpoint. From this one endpoint, we will be starting or going towards this, let's say by a distance x. After moving x distance, we will be covering, or we will be focusing upon some small element of plates, this element, which will have a thickness dx. And let's say this angle which is going to be a constant number, is indicated by alpha. And let's say this distance, that means the K2 zone in this particular strip is of y length or thickness. So the rest upside will become d minus y, because d is the total gap. So if this gap becomes y, so upside will become d minus y. And we are going to simply focus on this small strip that we have considered. So if we focus this and try to draw it separately, we will find some sort of this. That means a plate will be observed over here. Let me increase the thickness bit. So there will be one plate, and then there will be another plate at the this inclined line, and then there is going to be another plate downside. Now the space between these two plates is going to be filled with K1. This will be filled with K2. The gap between these two plates is y. The gap between these two plates is d minus y. That means this can be drawn into a circuit and having two series capacitors. So we can say this is going to be behave like one capacitor, this is going to be behave like another capacitor. Let's call this capacitance to be dC1. D is differential capacitance C1, this is differential capacitance C2. We can also write the values of these dC1 and dC2. What this dC1 is going to be indicate? Can we find it out using the formula of capacitor? Yes, we can find out. We will say the area of this plate. This plate area is going to be the perpendicular dimension into dx. So we will write it as a b into dx. Dx is differential x length. So that's area into the dielectric constant, which is K1, into epsilon naught divided by the gap between these two plates, in the K1 case. So K1 case is d minus y. So that's d minus y. Making sense? Similarly, we can write dC2 as well. This dC2 is going to be area, which is going to be again b dx. They will have the same area. Dx is the differential length into K2 into epsilon naught divided by d. Here we need to write the gap between the plates. So the gap between the second plates is going to be y, that we have assumed it to be y. So that's a y. So this is differential capacitance 1, this is differential capacitance 2. Now once we know these differential capacitance, we can find out they are connected in series. So using the series formula, we can find out what the DC is going to be. That means equivalent of these two. So can we say DC, since we will be able to write DC, that means differential capacitance in series combination, is going to be given by this formula, that is 1 upon DC is going to be equal to 1 upon dC1 plus 1 upon dC2. Now this is one capacitance equivalent to this differential element. Then after, what we are going to do, we are going to find this kind of capacitance when x is going to change. They will be, this all is going to be connected in parallel. So since they are going to be connected in parallel, so we will say C equivalent, or C that we are looking for, is going to be integration of DC. So we are going to integrate DC. Now we can go to this mathematics and solve what the DC is going to be, and then integrate it. Now this is going to be DC1 into DC2 divided by DC1 plus DC2. So this is going to be a little bit lengthy calculation, but yes, we can do that. So DC1 and DC2 we need to multiply first, and downside we need to add and then divide it. Fine. So let's place it. This is going to be equal to this number we need to put here, or what we can do, that's going to be a little bit easy to calculate. First find out DC, then we will place the DC over here to get the integration. So finding this 1 upon DC is going to be a little bit easier. So let's carry with this first. So 1 upon DC is going to be equal to 1 upon DC1. So let's place the 1 upon DC1, which is going to be d minus y in the upside. In the downside we will be having b k1 epsilon naught into dx plus dc2 is going to be y divided by b k2 epsilon naught into dx. Now if you want, you can take some constant or some common terms outside. So like 1 upon, what we can see as a common terms as they are 1 upon b epsilon naught dx, b epsilon naught dx. So this is easily taken as a common, and we will find d minus y divided by k1 plus y divided by k2. Now we can easily simplify to get what the dc is going to be. So let's make this upside down. So this will become upside as a b epsilon naught dx. In bracket, this bracket has to be simplified. When we simplify this bracket, then you'll find k1, k2 is going to be in the numerator after reversing, divided by, and this numerator will become denominator. That means it will become k1 y plus k2. With this k2 you will be finding it's a d minus y. If you see carefully how many variables you are finding in this dc, b is a constant, epsilon naught is a constant, k1, k2 are constant, y is a variable, x is a variable. Now we need to find the relation between y and x. And if we can write this y in terms of x, then it will be integrable. Now if we take this little triangle, then we can say tan alpha. Tan alpha, if you look carefully, tan alpha is going to be written as y by x. So from here we can say y is basically equal to x tan alpha. This is what we can say. Now alpha is a constant number, so that means y is linearly dependent on x. So we will be putting the value of y here in terms of x, and then we will be integrating for finding this c. So now the c will be integration of this stuff. In this stuff we are having k1, k2, b epsilon naught divided by this denominator has k1 into y, so it becomes k1 into x tan alpha plus k2 into d minus k2 into x tan alpha, then dx. Now this entire integration in terms of x can be running from 0 to L in order to find the entire integration. So yes, now onward it can be handled. It's only mathematical part. Let me write in the way it can be easily understood. k1, k2, b epsilon naught, these are the constant number, they can be taken outside, and rest is integration, which is dx divided by. Now if we handle this denominator properly, then it will be visible how to integrate it. Now from here we can take this k2 d separate, and in this rest of this we will be taking x as a common. So we are separating basically x terms, so you'll find it's going to be tan alpha in bracket k1 minus k2 into x, and integration runs from 0 to L. Now this is integrable. This format is basically integration dx upon a plus bx. This is behaving like b. So if we assume this number to be a, this number to be entire number to be b, so this is dx upon a plus bx, and we know this kind of integration is ln divided by b. So if this is a, this is b, then this can be written as k1 K2 B epsilon naught. Now this B is a different B, and the B that we are assuming is a different. So let's call this by another number. This B should not be confused by this B. So let's call this as a capital B. So this is small a, this is a capital B, right? And when we go for the integration, so this integration will become ln in bracket a plus bx, and limit has to be placed from 0 to L. And we know whenever this whatever the coefficient of x is, that has to be divided with. So this is divided by b. Now we can put the value of L, then we can put the value of 0 as well. So in short, I'm writing what the C is going to be in this particular case. So C is going to be equal to, when we place this x as L, so it become L. When we place as a 0, so it's become 0. So it will be equal to K1 K2 B epsilon naught divided by B. I'm writing it a capital B, where capital B is indicating tan alpha, and K1 minus K2. And then this is, with this putting the limits, we are going to get it as ln A plus BL divided by small a. So we can accept it as our answer, where B is indicating this number 10 alpha, which is K1 minus K2 in a bracket. A is K2 into D, we can substitute there. Moreover, once you are going to write this, then 10 alpha is going to be something that is not given to us. So we can say 10 alpha was y by x. If we take this 10 alpha in a bigger triangle, which is also going to be equal to 10 alpha is going to be equal to d by L. So finally we will replace this 10 alpha by d by L. So then finally we will be putting the 10 alpha as d by L. Then our answer will be in terms of L, D. That means in terms of these numbers L, B, D, epsilon naught, and K1 and K2. So from here we can write our answer, which is going to be a bigger answer. So what you can do, you can put the value of B, put the value of 10 alpha, and find out, write your answer. And you can remember that answer, or at least you can have idea that the capacitance is in terms of ln. If it is going to be question in the examination, then you can mark the right option, which has ln value as well as these numbers. So the point in this particular question is, if this is distributed in such a way, in this way as shown in this figure, then what we need to do, we need to go for the finite element method. And this method is always available with us. At a distance x, we take a dx. For dx, we took dc1, dc2. They were found to be in series. Then we applied the formula of series combination, and then we place these values, simplified, integrated to get our answer. I hope beyond this point you can carry on and write your final answer. Well, so that's all about this video. In this video we have learned a lot more important points. So you consolidate these points, make your notes, remember them. If there's a doubt, you can always ask. And with this, most of the part of the capacitors and related stuff has been over. One point is left: the force between the parallel plate capacitors, or plates between the plates of the capacitors, as well as force on the dielectrics when it is half inserted. So these 2 points will be covered in a next video, and with that this chapter will be over. Well, so thank you for watching. Have a good time.